Oh, we're recording.
We're recording.
I
Greeting,
thought
viewer.
got a nice
Welcome
frappe.
to Full Record Jacket with me, Phil, and he, Ice Baby Ben. Yes, it's another show in which I have no idea what we're going to do because apparently Ben has a surprise on which he is going to spring me.
Well,
Is that
well,
right grammar? No.
yeah, it will do, Phil. It's unusual. I'm just going to move my desk forward. It's unusual for you to be de-grammified by myself. So, but no, I would like to say this was completely my idea, and I didn't steal the idea from a history podcast called "Oh What a Time." You should check it out. Very funny with Ellis James, Chris Skull, and Tom Crane. God, his name missed me then. So yeah, go check it out. But I thought, Philster, we are both music people. You are the connoisseur. You are the Michelin 12-star restaurant. I am your pie and mash shop.
I don't know about that, but yeah.
3 chords and just smashing it out on the drums. And that's why we work, because we are a quintessential mix of knowledge. But I just thought, if you had a one-day time machine and you could go back to any point in musical history to witness it, so either going back and you can't change anything, but you can be seen, but you can't change anything. You're a little bit like Dr. Sam Beckett, but without any influence. So you could go
witness
back
whatever
as
you like. Yeah.
you could go back as an ice frappe and witness Robert Johnson down at the crossroads, selling his soul to the devil and all that sort of stuff. You could be there when Johnny Marr knocked on Morris's door to, start up the Smiths.
Yeah.
Or
it wouldn't be too exciting, would it? Just to watch him knock on a door, but yeah.
Or you can be there while the Spice Girls were recording their debut album and deliberating over the chord change from the chorus into the bridge and then the middle eight, and deliberating what kind of sort of formational structure of the song they should go for. So you could witness
conceiving the zig in real time.
Yeah. So if you had the choice to go back in a one-day time machine for one day only, for one day in music, and you could be there to witness it, the shooting of John Lennon, you could be there at the Dakota building to witness it, to see what actually, all these things. I know that's a bit morbid, but it's a poignant thing seeing the Beatles at the Cavern, anything like that, you can go back in a time machine. The time machine doesn't have to be a DeLorean. It can be a bowl of soup. That's irrelevant.
Okay.
But you're going back. Where are you going back to?
Oh, crikey. Can I draw up a short list?
Go on then. Because, you can have... What would be your 3... If you had 3 days, your one-day time machine over, go on a Monday, Tuesday off, go on a Wednesday, Thursday off, Friday, half a day, go see Westlife in concert or something like that.
Well, I'm trying to think if there's anything from the era of pre-rock and roll that I would actually want to go and watch.
Well, like Mozart or something like that.
Yeah, I'm thinking maybe, I'm trying to think what that would be. Would there be anything from blues or jazz history or something like that? I mean, I could go and see Benny Goodman's concert at Carnegie Hall in 1938, which was historic. But maybe that wouldn't be the most exciting. Or watch Louis Armstrong and his Hot Five making some of those early records.
Yeah.
But that would be, might be interesting. But I'm not sure I can't think of anything else pre-war that would interest me that much. So it would have to be something from rock and roll history, I think. So it would either have to be, I would maybe, I'd have to, Elvis Presley was obviously a big contender for me. Maybe seeing him record in the studio at the Memphis recording, the Memphis recording service as it was then, which the label that was used to release Sun Records. To see that maybe would be quite interesting, or one of his very early performances before he was
Big.
really, really big, but he was causing
As
a
in
sensation.
record sales big, not as in
Yeah,
burger big.
exactly.
Burger
Something
big.
like that, or maybe the gig which is portrayed in the movie Great Balls of Fire, where Jerry Lee Lewis sets fire to his piano and then says to Chuck Berry, "Go on and follow that." And to see how it actually transpired, because there's a little bit of mythology around that incident, and no one's quite sure how much has been embellished or not.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting. It'd be interesting to see that, I suppose. And then there's the other key thing. Well, obviously, people would say, see the Beatles in the Cavern is an obvious one, isn't it? Or be there when they recorded Revolver or Sgt. Pepper or whatever. Or see the Stones at the Marquee Club in the early days. That would be kind of interesting. But it would definitely be interesting. I suppose the other thing is just these historic gigs, Bob Dylan at the Newport Folk Festival or the Monterey Festival where Hendrix set his guitar on fire, being the front row
Muddy
for that.
Waters at Newport.
There's all that. Or go to the Last Waltz concert in the band and all the guests in, was it 1976?
I mean, you were alive for most of these things anyway.
Exactly. So, I mean, it's, not much of a nostalgia for me, is it?
No. I mean, you're literally sort of going, you'd have to go back to Queen Victoria times to see anything new, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Jack the Ripper doing his hip hop album.
I'm sure viewers would come up with many, many other things. People might come up with something from punk history, maybe. They'd like to go and see the Sex Pistols or something, or maybe they'd like to go and see...
I don't know if I'd like to go and see the Sex Pistols.
No, I wouldn't
like to be covered in blood and urine.
Well, exactly. I wouldn't want to do that.
No.
Or see whatever your favourite band is, go and see them early on. Or
I think I'd like to go back to November the 12th, 1955, to witness the birth of rock and roll at the Enchantment Under the Sea dance, where Marty McFly is rocking it out, and that guy's on the phone to Chuck Berry. You know that sound you've been looking for? Get a load of this. That was the birth of rock and roll, wasn't it?
Yeah. What was that? That was the Back to the Future. I know the scene where he plays Johnny B. Good, Chuck Berry.
Yeah.
And it's obviously in the 50s when his parents had met, or around the time, or he's making sure they meet, doesn't he, or something like that.
Yeah.
That you said it's Under the Sea. What was the Under the Sea thing?
The Enchantment Under the Sea dance, wasn't it?
Is that what was that? What was that then? I can't remember.
I don't know. It must have, well, this is the thing, because was it November? I'm sure it was November 1955, November the 12th. They went back to. What school is having a sort of prom dance in November? I need to look at what date.
Was Under the Sea? I mean, I remember. Obviously, I've seen the film once, twice, maybe three times, but it's a long time since I've seen it, and I can't remember I can't remember what, apart from the fact that there was some dance going on and he played the Chuck Berry number.
But I just started typing in what date did, and the first things it came up with were World War II start, Titanic sink, and Jesus die.
So those are the
as we well know, we know that Jesus dies on a different day every year, because Easter is all over the place. What date did Marty McFly go back to in Back to the Future? It's October the 26th to November the 5th, 1955. So who's having a dance in October?
I don't know, but there you go. So that's where you'd go. You'd go back to something that never really happened. It was just in a movie. But
yeah. I don't know where I'd go back to. I kind of, the morbid bit in me would like to go back to January the 8th, 1980, and just witness that whole day, even though it'd be horrible to see. And you'd want everything in your being to stop that from happening. And you can't, because you've gone back as an ice frappe.
Why? That's a bit weird. Why you want to see someone?
I don't know, because it's kind of like
being murdered. That seems a bit weird.
I know. I think it's because I'd want to try and stop it. I think that's probably. maybe King Tut's Wah Wah Hut, 1993, 94,
Yeah.
93,
Yeah,
93.
we could all have this. Can't we see your favourite band in the early
Band, yeah,
days?
yeah. And then, um, I mean, I was 5 when Live Aid was on. Maybe going backstage at Wembley, that'd be pretty mad. Or or just being around sort of like the Rolling Stone, or being in the audience when they did the first satellite broadcast with All You Need Is Love by the Beatles, or being on the rooftop. That sort of,
Now that's a good one. I hadn't thought of that particular Beatles one, but that
yeah.
would be to be on the roof there in January '69.
Yeah, I think I've got this morbid fascination because the Viola Beach, who sadly passed away about 8 years ago in Sweden.
It's the band who died in the car crash. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. To be fair, I think with the John Lennon thing and things like that, it's more so I could come back and say, no, this is actually what happened, and give people clarity to what was said and what was done, more than having to witness it. Instead of people guessing, it's kind of like Jack the Ripper. If I could go back, it couldn't do anything. If I was like Al in Quantum Leap, it's to see it, so I could come back to now and go, do you know what? This is what actually happened. And sort of, even though the conspiracy theorists wouldn't allow the truth to happen because then they wouldn't sell any books. But there's a lot. Yeah, I mean, I would
Well,
love to.
well, in that case, you could sort out the Kurt Cobain conspiracy theories.
Yeah,
couldn't you?
things
You
like that.
watch him on his last day and see what happened, or Richie from the Manics, see what happened to
And
him.
find out actually sort of. So instead of sort of witnessing the sort of great periods in history, is maybe, because I think I'd like to go back and see like the first time John and Paul McCartney met, just to see what it was like. Because I have this recurring dream of going back in time and seeing my dad when he was younger. So it'd be interesting to go back and see how they actually did meet, because obviously hearsay and that sort of kicks in a little bit in that.
It's basically two teenage lads that were into music talking to each other after
Yeah,
one
and I could
played
end up
with
on a
this skiffle
register for
band.
that.
It was fairly.
Yeah.
It's fairly. I imagine it was a fairly boring event.
Yeah.
by
I suppose
any
a lot of these
fun.
things could be deemed as slightly boring, I suppose.
Watching them meet wouldn't have been particularly exciting at the time, would it? It wouldn't have
No,
been.
no. Or
I
yeah.
suppose if you were there watching it and knowing that's who they were, maybe it would be exciting.
I mean, there's a weird bit of me for my own personal. I know I wouldn't be able to experience it because I'd be going back as me now, as a 45-year-old. I know I only look 20, but such is time, a concept made by man that keeps moving forward. I'd love to go back to about 1996, 97, and the experience of a Friday, wanting to get home to watch TFI Friday, that excitement of a Friday to sort of see what bands were going to be on. I know that's that, but you couldn't relive that because you'd be going back as yourself, as you're, as I found out on Thursday, because I was down in London Village because I went to see, there's a podcast I listened to called Quickly Kevin Willie Score with Josh Widdicombe, Chris Skull, and Michael Marden about 90s football. Very funny. Check it out. It's very, very good. It's come to an end now. Thursday was their last show, was a live show at the London Palladium. But when I came out, it made me realise that I actually appreciate my 90s me more now than I did when I was that 90s me. If that makes any sense. So that going back and watching TFI, I'm having that thingy of, I've got to get home because TFI, you don't have that anymore, do you? You don't have that thing, I need to get this. There's not those sort of televisual moments anymore where you sort of, I need to get back and watch, I don't know, Paul McCartney or David Bowie or all these sort of indie bands and at the time. They're going to be on, or Sean Ryder, stuff like that. That sort of, it was just all sort of.
Yeah, well, also now, of course, we can dial any of these acts up on YouTube and watch all these clips now, can't we? Whereas we couldn't do that before, could we? It was very hard to access a lot of that.
Yeah. Maybe Oasis at Nebworth. I'd like to go and maybe see that, but
front row.
Yeah, maybe I'd prefer to see him at probably Main Road.
Side of the
800.
stage view.
Yeah, because you could literally be anywhere. Because you could be Noel Gallagher's plectrum. That's the kind of level of going back to.
It would be quite a painful experience, I would have thought.
That would
one,
be,
but-
yeah, being strummed by Noel Gallagher. But yeah, I think I don't think there's any sort of monumental music. It's more that sort of stuff of pulling the record straight for history, or maybe being in the recording studio when John Lennon went, "I've written this song. It's about a walrus," and then the others just went, "That seems pretty decent," and they all went, "Yeah, it's got lines in it. Go, ooh, do I can't even bloody remember. Cuckoo, cuckoo." And they all went, "Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, I'd like, maybe witness something like that, maybe more than an actual music event." But Robert Johnson, I think I'd like to go back and sort of
find out how he died again.
Well, he was poisoned, when they reckon, but not find out how he died. But I'd need a longer period with Robert Johnson, because I'd need to know, was he rubbish at the guitar one day and then amazing at it the next day after he'd met the devil? And that's what I would want to sort of...
I have a suspicion that's probably not actually the case. I suspect he probably was just good at playing the guitar.
You introduced me to Robert Johnson. Not,
If
you didn't introduce me. We weren't on at dinner
together.
Those
photos of him, he did have very long fingers, didn't he? So that probably helped him play the guitar.
Yeah, his fingers are obscene. The way they stretch across that fretboard.
Yeah. I know blues aficionados. Some blues aficionados will claim that there were other blues artists who were better than him or as good as him. The thing with Johnson, of course, there is the mythology around him, but also his records are important because they were a big influence on the blues and rock artists.
Yeah.
Well, that was the album they got hold of. That's one that Clapton and all those people listened to. So it had an influence.
Yeah, well, you introduced me to it, didn't you? You got, and I was fascinated by the fact that it was recorded in the 30s, and you can hear the creaking fretboard and strings while he's playing, which I found quite fascinating. So yeah, in regards to the One Day Time Machine, literally, I am going back to a moment that I can watch on YouTube. I've got this time machine, and I am literally just making YouTube real and reliving my youth. Whereas you're going back to
see some history,
see some actual history. Whereas I'm just going back on a death fest,
basically.
Dear me. But yeah, that's the concept. One day time machine. We may revisit it at another time, but where would you go back to? Not you, Phil, because we've just discussed that, but you out there in YouTube world, where would you go back to?
What would you do? Where would you go in the time machine?
I know where most of them would go back to, about 19 minutes and 50 seconds ago, and not pressing play on the video.
That's probably possibly the wisest decision of all.
Yeah.
Let us know in the comments, viewer. We want to know where you would travel in that time machine. In the meantime, we will be back with another video very soon. Thanks for watching. Take care.